It is time to take a look at your money here on Good Morning Quad Cities, but we're going to kick it off with our weekly stock market recap. The S&P 500 down 1.3%, the NASDAQ down 1.9%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average also down 0.7%. Well, the national average price for a gallon of gas now sitting at about $3.81 this morning. That's an 11-month high and up 20% since January. And for much of the summer, gas prices have been steadily rising. That's according to the U.S. Energy Information. So joining us is our financial expert, Mark Grywacheski, joining us this morning to talk more about this. Yep. What is going on with these gas prices?
Well, it all ties back to the price of crude oil, which is then ultimately refined into gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, and a host of other products. Now, last summer, crude oil prices rose to about $120 a barrel. But then over the next 12 months, David, we get this steady decline in crude oil prices, and crude oil falls to about $67 a barrel. And this sent the price of gasoline from an all-time record high last summer, remember those, over $5 a gallon, down to about $3.30 a gallon. But then in May, David, this is what happens. OPEC and Russia agree to significantly reduce their crude oil production. Now, OPEC is a group of 13 nations led by Saudi Arabia that controls about, listen to this, 40% of the world's crude oil production. And their goal is that by reducing the global supply of crude oil, OPEC and Russia can inherently drive crude oil prices higher. And that's exactly what's happening. Again, crude oil prices risen from that $67 a barrel, quickly approaching $90 a barrel at 10-month high. And again, as crude oil prices rise, so do the prices of gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, and many other crude oil-related products.
Yikes. So how does the Quad Cities play into this?
Well, where you the price you pay for a gallon of gas varies significantly from one state to another. The average price for a gallon of gas, I think we've got a graph coming up here, is $3.81. Here we go. This is up 20% since January. The most expensive state in the nation, surprise, surprise, California. $5.36. Cheapest state, Mississippi, at $3.36. Illinois ranks number 10, $4.01. But you go to Chicago, this jumps to $4.55 a gallon. Iowa ranks number 31 in the nation, $3.80 a gallon. So basically in line with that national average. Now here in the Quad Cities, kind of to your point, David, the price you pay at the gas pump varies significantly, whether you fill up on one side of the river or the next. On the Illinois side of the Quad Cities, the average price for a gallon of regular gas, $3.95. On the Iowa side, it's about 10% cheaper to fill up your gas.
Wow. Well, speaking of inflation, we're talking about gas, but that inflation report is supposed to come out on Wednesday. What are you expecting to see?
Well, in my opinion, the main reason inflation did fall from 8.9% last June down to 3% this past June was that steady decline in crude oil prices. Remember, during this time frame, crude oil fell from $120 a barrel down to $67 a barrel. But we also need to remember and appreciate that just the expansive impact that crude oil prices have on our economy. From that single barrel of crude oil, we get gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, kerosene, heating oil. Crude oil is used in the manufacture of chemicals and plastics. As crude oil prices rise, so do the costs of manufacturing and production, shipping and transportation, warehousing, and all of these higher costs ultimately get passed on to the consumer in what? In the form of higher retail prices. So you're right. In July, inflation jumped from 3 to 3.2%. On Wednesday, that August report is expected to show that inflation jumped even higher, maybe up to 3.6%. Wow. So we're going to have to wait to see till that report comes out on Wednesday.
Not filled with any really good news this morning.
No, I wish I had better news. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, thank you so much for your expertise this morning. And here's a look at what's coming up on GMA.